Hey, Jared Krause, host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And in this episode, I'm doing something different. I've decided to do something very specific and intentional for you guys, and that is talking publicly about mindset. Now, I teach a lot of mindset to my clients, and having the right mindset is actually foundational to achieving anything in life, which is why I've decided to do a 4-part mindset series on the podcast for you all. Because like I said, this is foundational, and without the right mindset, you won't get very far on your journey to buying a website business. And I'm certain there are so many of you listening who want to buy a website but haven't, or feel like you can't, or have been sitting on the fence for a while and hanging about for any number of reasons. And I have no doubt it's because you haven't set the foundations first by carousing a solid mindset for yourself to participate in this journey. So this episode's part 3. If you haven't listened to part 1 and part 2, go back and listen to them both first. In part 1, I talk about the one thing that every website investor has that you don't, and how to get that one thing. Then in part 2, I talk about how to become a confident website investor by mixing in what you learned from part 1 and also the 3 C's to achievement that I break down and explain in part 2. So if you're listening to this and you haven't heard the previous first 2 parts, stop, go back and start from part 1, and you'll learn along the way and follow what I'm talking about, as I've referenced back to those episodes a lot, right? You really need to have those episodes done first. So go back to part 1 if you haven't listened to it. Now, in this episode, I'm going to set you up to eliminate failure on your journey to buying a website. So I'll be talking about what stops most people from buying website businesses and or achieving anything they set out to accomplish. And there's 3 common traps that people fall into when they do find themselves derailed and having to go back to the very start again. And man, how painful is that? It's very, very painful. How do I know? I've been there, and I know that. And I understand how all of this works. And I see so many people struggle through the same thing and not being able to break through to actualize their goals. But not you. After this episode, you are going to know what is coming for you, what is going to stop you, and you are going to be prepared for it and not let that happen. So today's episode is brought to you by us here at Buying Online Businesses. Let me ask, if you have an online business, have you ever thought of selling it? We're a thriving community of website investors who are cashed up and hungry to buy your online business. Our members are well trained in online business due diligence, allowing you a quick sale of your business. And because we only want to provide a better service to our members, we're opening up the doors to allow you to sell your online business to us free of charge. So if you have an online business that's making a minimum net profit of $5,000 per year and you're thinking of selling your business, head over to our Sell Your Business page at buyingonlinebusinesses.co/sell your business. There will be a link in the show notes, and you can also find this page from our site, buyingonlinebusinesses.com. That's buyingonlinebusinesses.com. The first trap, right? The first trap is that people's visions aren't aligned with what they truly want. Again, if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to it. Now, what does this mean? People's visions aren't aligned with what they truly want. If you're having trouble moving from the commitment phase to courage, then there's a massive reason why. That reason is that your vision isn't aligned with what you actually want. Which is why if you find yourself not passionate enough towards achieving your goal, say for example, buying a website and replacing your income, or buying a website to grow your portfolio and have another income stream, then you simply don't want your goal bad enough. Pretty plain and simple. No one will do anything unless they want it bad enough. So to prevent giving up on your goal, change that goal to something that you really, really want. For example, it might not be that you just want to replace your income, which is a blanket statement. We all borrow from everyone else, right? We all borrows that blanket statement, or I want to have a side hustle, or I want to replace my income, and I want to travel, and all these sort of things. They're just blanket statements that a lot of people want. Don't go away and try achieve somebody else's dream, because you can get tripped up and you can have to stop and start back at the start all over again. So maybe your goal is to spend more time with your kids. Maybe it's to actually pick them up from school in the afternoons and drop them off to school in the morning. Maybe your goal is to just have enough energy to read your kids to sleep at night and still hang out with your wife afterwards. Maybe it's to be able to afford to take a family holiday, right? And go to the same place every single Easter, or go to the same place every single Christmas, or have awesome birthday celebrations for each of your kids or for you and your partner. Can you see that the devil really is in the details here? So what I like to expand on is the more specific you are with your vision for what you want, the better. And sometimes people have visions of them moving to a certain country and eating at a certain restaurant and eating a certain dish and drinking a certain drink at that certain restaurant. I've had visions of myself snowboarding in Japan, and years later, I was sitting on top of a mountain strapping into my snowboard and had that actual vision was actualized in front of me when I was looking down on the mountain. It was amazing for me. Absolutely amazing, because I'm so big into this mindset stuff of having a vision. And it was really in the details. The details of that vision was me sitting down, snowboard, strapping in at a certain mountain in Japan, and I had that vision. So the devil really is in the details. So the more you dig into it and think about what you really want, maybe it's not just money from buying a website, and that's okay. It probably isn't. Sure, that's an important piece, right? But in saying that, buying a website really is just a vehicle as well. For example, when I first started, I couldn't care for websites much at all. All I wanted to do was travel the world and not have to get my hands dirty as a plumber and be able to live life on my own terms. I knew what countries I wanted to visit. I knew what season I wanted to visit them. I knew what I wanted to do in each of those countries and how long I wanted to spend time there. I was so specific, and I truly knew what I wanted. And that's what I wanted, nobody else. Okay. And buying websites was the best vehicle for that. So at any stage you find yourself not being passionate enough to your vision or committed enough to move through the courageous phase that I talk about in part 1 to achieve your goal and move on to becoming committed enough to roll up your sleeves and go through that courageous phase, that's because you haven't quite hit the nail on the head for what you deep down truly desire for yourself. Once that's right, everything else fits into place. It's like dominoes. If you all have these dominoes lined up, for example, you know you can buy a website and follow this process and get the help you need from me and all of this, it's already right in front of you. All you need is a reason to start knocking down those dominoes. And that first domino is your vision, what you want your life to look like. And if that domino is not big enough and strong enough, that vision's not big enough and it's not strong enough, it's not going to be able to knock over the next domino. So really put some effort into that vision and get it right. Sit with it, right? And it's going to change as you evolve and as you grow through your goals. Of course, it's going to change. Your life changes. But if you focus on that daily, it will get stronger and will become big enough to move to the commitment phase, right? And start knocking down those dominoes through the courageous phase. So I hope that really sinks in. The second reason is most people fail is because they give up through the learning process, through the courageous phase. So sure, they may have enough of a vision to be committed enough and thus move on to the courage phase where they're taking action on their goal. But what they really need to do is keep working at it, keep pounding away until they reach the confidence phase. But there's two reasons why this is pretty hard. One is because it can be a long distance to travel from being courageous enough to becoming confident. So just become conscious of that. It can take time. And number two is because a lot of people forget about their vision and then they give up. They forget why they're doing what they are doing, right? Why they're going through the pain of this learning, the growing pains, and they throw it all away. They throw it all in and then turn around in a few years later and realize, oh crap, I didn't get that goal and I was halfway through achievement. right? I was halfway through the 3 C's to achievement, but I didn't get that goal because I forgot my vision and it wasn't strong enough and I gave up. And I have to go back all over again. Instead, what you can do is you can alter that vision halfway along through that courageous phase, and it should change. Like I said before, life changes. So can your goals and your vision. So how do you prevent both of these things from happening? Well, it all comes back to what we are talking about all along. You need to truly be connected to your vision. You need to keep that vision in the forefront of your mind. And I know you've probably heard this 1,000 times before, and probably also from me. But the reality is that it's not easy to stay focused on that vision unless you make it a daily practice and treat it serious enough, right? Once you stay connected to that, then when those times come that you feel like giving up, you have that vision to lean on, because you will question why you're doing things. You will. When you're down and out and you're like, why am I putting myself through this pain? Why am I struggling? Why do I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to have a call with some random person across the other side of the world that's selling their website business, which I've been through? Why am I doing this? And you're scrambling around to try and find an answer to that. And if you can't find an answer, it's because you've forgotten your vision, because your vision is the answer. And I'm going to say that again. Your vision is the answer. Write that down. Take note. If there's one thing you learn from this whole 4-part mindset series, is that the vision is your answer. So along that journey from being courageous enough to take action on your goals to move towards confidence, you're going to be tested. And the answer to each test is your vision. Okay. And lastly, the other massive reason that stops people from buying a website business is because they don't have a guide. If you're listening to this, you need a river guide. Let me tell you a story. This just explains it perfectly. A few years ago, my partner wanted to go kayaking in the New Everglades. There's only 2 Everglades in the world. One of them is in Noosa, Australia, which is a water system with amazing views and wildlife and bird watching and great picnic areas and heaps of these cool things to see, great trees and everything. But do you think I'm just going to go and throw my partner in a kayak and away we go? Not a chance. Who knows what's out there, right? Where do we start and finish, right? What should I take with us? How will we get back home? Are there waterfalls along the way? If there are, where are these waterfalls so we don't get caught and die? Or are there crocodiles? And if there are, where is safe to stop for lunch and not get attacked by a crocodile? Can you see that I need someone to show us the way so I'm not taking a huge risk? I want someone to point out what I need to look out for. Someone who's been down this track so many times before. And you can see where I'm going with this, right? But what amazes me is that so many people try to buy a website on their own. Isn't that insane? They try and buy a website on their own with no experience. Actually, as I record this today, I had a call a couple of hours ago, went for a surf, and I'm coming back and I'm recording this. Just today when I recorded this, I spoke to a person who bought a website and it was making no money. It was making no money and wanted to achieve great goals, but didn't know where to start, right? Like I'm talking about before, didn't know the starting point. 5 months had made $80 after buying a website. And this is what happens if you don't have a river guide, if you don't have experience, somebody to tell you where to start, what to do along the way, and how to exit, how to do this the right way. I mean, sure, you can learn a lot from my podcast and all of my videos. There's a lot of absolutely excellent information, but without anyone to guide you, not only are you taking a massive risk when opportunities and websites do present themselves, it's just so easy to give up and get scared and walk away. And I don't blame people who do that either. When you do this alone, you don't know what to look for. Right? You don't know, these things that can be scary, right? When you see a website and you're like, what are the risks here? If you can't identify those risks, that's scary. Of course you're going to give up. Or if you can identify these risks and you don't know what to do, it's scary and you give up and run away as well. You don't have that professional help from someone who's looked at hundreds of websites before, someone who's helped so many people buy websites. By going this alone, you're not really giving yourself a fighting chance, let's be honest. So if you're really dead set committed to your vision and you're not prepared to let anything get in your way, which is the attitude that you should have if you're chasing a dream life, then why would you try to do this alone, right? Without a seasoned river guide. And it's the same with any goal that you want to achieve. right? Any goal that you want to achieve. Anybody that has achieved any level of success in their life, athletes, people that have achieved amazing like Emmy awards, actors, stars, sports people, they've all got a massive team behind them, right? They've got a team, they've got a coach, they've got a river guide to point things out, people that know the landscape, because doing this whole thing alone, it's easy to give up. Do you think there's anybody in the Olympics that hasn't got a river guide or hasn't got a coach or a team around them? So make sure you do yourself a favor and set yourself up for success. Don't set yourself up for failure and go this alone. There is a myth that, the entrepreneurial journey is a lonely journey. It's such a myth. Why? Because it doesn't have to be lonely. In fact, it's stupid to make it lonely. Why don't you wrap yourself around other people that have achieved great things in this space and do it together? Now, you don't have to buy the same business. You don't have to run the same business, but you can lean on each other for advice, right? And that's why people love the Bob community. But guys, that's the message I wanted to share with you, is that there are these things that are going to stop you in your tracks to achieving your goal. And if you don't understand what they're going to be, then it's easy for them to come in and infiltrate and stop you from achieving your goal. So that's it for part 3, guys. I have no doubt that you learned a ton from all of these 3 parts so far. And what I would like you to do is think of 2 to 3 people who have a goal. It can be anything they're looking to achieve. So think of those 2 to 3 people now. And once you know those 2 to 3 people, do them a massive favor and send them this podcast mindset series so they can learn the mindset you need to achieve anything. It doesn't just have to be buying website business, to achieving anything in life. This is absolutely critical, this mindset series. So do it now, do them a favor. If you truly care about them and don't want them to give up on their journey and achieving their goals, send them this mindset series. So guys, that's it for this episode. Next episode is going to be part 4. And what we're going to be talking about in part 4 is how to run and grow the website business you just bought, right? So once you've gone through the full phase of these 3 and you've bought your website business, what then? What do you do once you've bought it? What work do you need to do? How do you know how to run the business, how to grow the business? And what type of mindset, critically, this is important, what type of mindset do you need to have as a business owner? So I'll be covering all of that and more. So I'll see you guys on the next episode.